My brand new stand-up comedy special is out on YouTube right now. You can search for Maternal Instinct Comedy on YouTube, or if you go to jfcomedyspecial.com, that will redirect you to that page where you can just watch it for free immediately on YouTube. Please hit the like button. And please leave a comment. That helps me a lot. It tells YouTube that people are engaged with this. They're liking it, and YouTube will show it to other people. There are a bunch of great comments so far. You guys, everyone who left a comment so far, I have seen it. I appreciate it. Really, to the very depths of my soul, I appreciate it. And I will continue to check out those comments on the Maternal Instinct stand-up comedy special on YouTube. Let's talk today about being delusional. Listen, hey, everything I have accomplished in my life is because I was delusional enough to believe that it could happen. How do I have a podcast that only loses $400 a month in my life? Like, to be able to accomplish that, you have to believe. Because some people would say, well, I bet I could make money on a podcast. But I believed I could lose money on my podcast every month. And it came to fruition. But listen, here's really the salient point. So much of what you currently believe, in particular, what you believe about your possibilities, and especially what you believe about what people think about you, is delusion. You're wrong. You, especially with the negative stuff. I don't know anyone, probably nobody who listens to this podcast is just thinking too positively. They believe too much in their potential. They think too many people like them. It happens. You see that, that personality type is out there, but I don't think it's very prevalent among listeners to this podcast. I think that you are convinced that a lot of negative things are going on surrounding you that might actually not be the case. And I want to emphasize, I am not the first person who came up with this insight. Obviously, this comes from the great philosopher FurryFan3684A on TikTok. Was really, I think, the first person to point that out. And it's such an important point that if you are going to be delusional, why not be delusional positive? Why not believe the positive thing? Because right now you're thinking all of this negative stuff it's really not true. And so why not train your brain when you are concocting your fan fiction about your life to write positive fan fiction? The fan fiction that you are writing in your head at midnight when you can't sleep, and you can't even scroll your phone because you listen to ice bath influencers to tell you to put it in a titanium vault when you're trying to go to sleep. Like you're a child. So you just sit there with your own thoughts, and your own thoughts are fan fiction, dark murder mystery fan fiction about what is about to happen in your life. Why not train your crazy brain to write positive fan fiction? Notice when people say, I was lying awake at night just thinking about the future and what might happen in the future. Would you ever think that someone was thinking something positive? Like, oh my gosh, were you imagining that novel you've dreamed of writing was actually really well received? Were you imagining that people in your family, their health is actually going to get better, and that they're going to achieve their dreams too? No! If someone's like, I spent 2 hours, I couldn't sleep, and I was just thinking about my family and what might happen to us in the next couple of years. No one has ever thought anything positive. You guys are running your own true crime podcast in your brain. I would like you to switch it to a Jen Fulwiler show style podcast. So, unhinged and, halfway insane most of the time, but pretty positive, it's like not this, get the true crime podcast out of your brain and switch it to something positive. And I mean, I'm telling you, you know what it is? I think a lot of us are kind of intuitive in certain ways, and we can take that ball and run with it a little too much. A friend of mine who was legit a pretty intuitive person, when she would get triggered, and we are comfortable with that word from a previous podcast episode. What do you remember which one that was that I was talking about being triggered? I'll look it up. Hang on.
Nope.
This podcast is a wealth of resources. That one was episode 211. It was just a few weeks ago. So I don't use that word ironically. I think it's an absolute legit thing, the idea of being triggered. It's a shame that the word has been bankrupted by our silly culture. But triggered just means that something that is happening to you has tapped into an area of unprocessed stress in your life, and your brain is now firing in the same way it did at the time that the trauma originally happened. So you are not in your right mind. So my friend, who was generally a very intuitive, intelligent, just on her game kind of person, when there would be marital discord, when she and her husband would get into a tiff about something, that was triggering to her due to some stuff in her own past. And so she was no longer thinking in her current adult right mind, but she still perceived herself to be intuitive. So she would start what she's thinking, intuiting things, but really she is acting out of triggers. I probably lost a few of you there. Here's I'll just give you the specific situation. This was so funny to me. She said, listen, you've got to pray for us. My husband, we just had a blow up, and at the end of it, he was like, you are the laziest wife anyone could imagine. You're useless. You never do anything around here. And frankly, I just find you disgusting. And she told me that, and I said, that is so not okay. That is so horrible. So those were his exact words. Like, he said that verbatim. And she said, well, no, not his exact words. And I said, okay, well, what were his exact words? And she said, well, he didn't say anything. And I said, well, wait, well, how did you get this statement? And she paused for a second. She's like, well, it was the way he walked across the room. I'm dead serious. That exact conversation happened. And normally I'm that kind of friend who I am that kind of friend that will justify any crazy behavior by my friends. They'll be like, I slept in so late today. And I'll be like, self-care queen. And then they'll say, well, it's because I was hungover. Party icon, And my friends could tell me I got arrested for felony arson. And I'd be like, they hate to see a girl boss setting the world on fire. I will justify anything for my friends. So that's me. And I was trying to justify it. And then I was like, okay, you might be making that up. I don't know. Maybe the way he walked around across the room did say all that. And then it turns out the next day, her husband did say to her, he was like, yeah, I was kind of annoyed, but I just thought it was, I was frustrated by the conversation. But he said, no, what? No, God, no, I didn't think any of that. But I'm telling you, if she hadn't talked to me about that was true to her in her trauma brain moment. That was completely true to her, that her husband thought those things about her. And again, this is a person who is normally a very accomplished, just intelligent, productive, normal member of society. But so this actually, this jibes so well with that previous episode 211 about triggers, because triggers make you delusional. And we all have them. Again, per that previous episode, you don't have to have been a child soldier to have unresolved trauma that sends you into that not being okay state of mind. You could have had actually a fairly lovely childhood, but if you just didn't have a way to process the normal life stresses that did happen to you, you can be triggered just like anyone else, because it's about the processing. And did you have that processing available to you, more so than about the actual level of the trauma itself. And my qualifications for telling you this are that I've watched a lot of YouTube videos about it, and I read The Body Keeps the Score. So therefore, I think I qualify as a mental health professional, and pretty much run your life based on everything I say. I do, ever since I read The Body Keeps the Score, I just like hold forth with like, well, what you need to know about trauma is, so that book has that effect on you because it's so good. So that is the main topic. As usual, we always get to the main topic in the second half of the show. In the first half, we always hit all of our wonderful intro topics. and this is the Jen Fulwiler Show, coming to you from wonderful and very hot Austin, Texas. This is the podcast where you learn the art of the village hustle. That's being a hot girl boss, or hot boy boss who knows that love and family and community are the foundations of all true success. I am your host, Jen. I am a stand-up comic with a brand new comedy special called Maternal Instinct, out now here on YouTube. And I am a best-selling author, and I had 6 babies in 8 years, which I feel qualifies me to talk about anything. I mean, I could be like nuclear physics, waste management. I just feel like I'm an expert on everything because I lived through that and everything is going pretty well. Caitlin White is our lovely producer. There is a link in the show notes to where you can find out more about working with her. There is also a link in the show notes. It's a fun little PDF that you can print, and it's a piece of paper with a quote bubble that says you are watching my comedy special. And so if you want to post that on your social media, obviously I would love that. You can get that link to the PDF in the show notes. And Caitlin, would you remind me to actually put it in there? Just check the show notes when I send them to you and make sure that it's in there. I love my Patreon. I spend a lot of time on there. Caitlin and I both are very engaged with my Patreon, and you can find that link also in the show notes. Okay. By the way, I'll say this again later, but the Village Hustle episode this week, it was actually a little late because it's so epic. So there are 2 tiers of the Patreon. The Village Hustle one is amazing. And it is the full behind the scenes of the launch of my comedy special. It's a long one. But it's like a very roughly put together documentary of just everything that went wrong, how I thought through those decisions. Truly epic. And so that is on the Village Hustle level of the Patreon. And then, of course, the other level, we do the after party. And after each episode, I keep chatting with you guys, and you get both of those if you're on the Village Hustle Patreon. Okay. Let us begin by, thank you. This is a nice color on me. I appreciate that. I'm just anticipating that you guys are going to say that. I'm going to try to make this brief because those of you who are only listening on audio and not subscribing to my fine YouTube channel, jfonyoutube.com, or just search for my name, Jen Fulwiler, on YouTube. This is a tough one for audio only, but I'll try to have you audio people hang with me. I'll do theater of the mind. I will describe what I am talking about, but I really recommend that you pull up this episode. This is episode 214. Pull it up on my YouTube so that you can see what I'm talking about. I am currently wearing an ice blue blouse. It's kind of shiny. I don't know about fashion. So what material would this be, Caitlin? Is it like sateen? Is it?
Yeah, I think so. Sateen or
is it chiffon?
It's like a fake silk. So
fake. I like it. It's fake for sure. Caitlin knows me very well. Like she's like, yeah, that's from Shein. So no, I broke out. This is a nice podcast. I broke out the $9 Shein shirt. Yes. Okay. So this is all because I know my colors. I'm always telling you guys to find out your colors, find out your colors, find out your colors. And I mean, I really recommend Created Colorful Lindsay. You can look her up on Instagram, Created Colorful Lindsay with an E. And you can look her up on Instagram and you can do a whole thing with her. It's pretty time consuming, well worth it. Best time and money you'll ever spend in your life. If you can't handle that, if you're one of my unhoused listeners, you're like, I literally don't have a home right now, but your podcast is a priority for me. Welcome. And then in that case, you can just use there are TikTok filters that can help you figure it out. So right now, okay, you know what, Caitlin, I never told you this. It has also come to my attention that some people have listened to my podcast for a long time, but just very, very casually. Somehow they don't know what I look like.
Really?
Yes. Okay. So a lady came up to me after one of my shows. I think it was when I was in Greenville, not this time, but the one before. And she said she always listens. Her daughter drives her to appointments and stuff. So she's been listening to my show forever, but her daughter is the one who pulls it up and puts the show on. So she's been hearing my voice for years, but she thought she was imagining me being like tan and having short black hair or something. Isn't that funny? Okay. So for those of you who are in that category, imagine a giant albino with red hair and bangs. Best decision I ever made.
Yeah.
Bangs. That's okay. So that's me. My skin is very, very fair. and I have blue eyes. So this will help you understand what I'm about to talk about with colors. And this podcast is a tapestry. It's a tapestry. The way all of the subjects that I bring up, they weave together throughout each episode. And I don't even plan it. It's just God. God weaves all these subjects together. So this weaves perfectly with what we were talking about last week, Hot Girl Summer. I was saying, listen, you're not fat. You just don't know your colors. You're not fat. You just don't know your kibby body type. You look amazing. And you're like, but Jen, I'm 538 pounds. I'm telling you, you just need to know your kibby body type and your colors, and you're going to feel so much better about yourself. So I was actually wishing during that episode I had specific examples to give you. And now I do. So with for those of you on audio, very pale skin, blue eyes, but I feel like that dramatic body type does play in here. And my hair's kind of it's like a dark red. It's not an orange red. It's a dark red. So I am wearing an ice blue shirt. And with my cool undertones, it makes my skin look healthy. That's one of the things you want to look for in your colors. This ice blue on my pale skin I've got, blue veins. Some people have more greenish veins. Mine look blue. It makes my skin look healthy, and that's what you want, is that glow. Now look at this. Just go jfonyoutube.com. Come on, you need to subscribe to my YouTube channel. We are getting close to 10,000 subscribers, and I'm going to lose my mind with joy when we hit it. So just stop listening on just audio. Pull this up on YouTube. Okay. I am pulling up like a little kid's cowboys vest, like when kids would like play cowboys and stuff. It's that old West sort of leather material. So it's a combination of brown and yellow. And I want you to watch how sickly this is about to make me look. Ugh. So yeah, exactly. So try
no
to.
Offense.
Well, no, right, exactly. Thank you for the for that's proves my point exactly. I'm trying to totally hide the blue here. So imagine if this is what I'm telling you. Just subscribe to my YouTube channel. Listen. I'm trying to. Nobody screenshot this and put it on social. They wouldn't understand. Okay, this is a child's vest, so I'm having trouble covering the blue. But look here. Okay, there you go. I'll put it. Look at how, like, if I were to wear a whole outfit in this color, do you notice how it makes my skin look kind of sickly to have this kind of yellowish, orangish, brownish color on it? Whereas someone who had a very rich, warm tones, maybe skin that had any color to it at all, they could really shine in this. This could make them look great, but not me. Now let's go to another color that will look good on me. This royal purple. Man, if I want to get engagement on Instagram, I just have to wear this color. And I have every chick that follows me DMing me immediately, telling me to never do anything except wear this color. So this is a rich kind of plum purple. And notice, that really brings out the right notes in my color. So again, those of you who are ruining my life by not watching this on YouTube, this is a rich kind of royal plum purple. So imagine that theoretically on a woman with pale skin with those kind of bluish cool undertones and red hair. It makes me look healthy. It makes me look vibrant. Now, let's go to another color that is not really my color. I used to wear this shirt all the time. This is a yellow beige shirt. It's kind of small because I've been doing nothing but eating for a few months. This is actually not the worst color on me. This one it's okay. But if you look, you see how that yellow is pulling out any yellow in my face, which does not complement my cool undertones very well. And then final thing, same thing. If I do like a light pink, now rich pinks work great on me, but I'm holding up kind of a light pink. Again, this one is okay. It's not terrible, but that light color it's just kind of pulling out the wrong things in my complexion, as opposed to, notice when we switch to the darker purple, it just, everything gets more rich as opposed to that light color. Okay, so anyway, whatever, you get the point. jfonyoutube.com. But I'm telling you guys, you're not, you're like, Jen, I just feel so gross. I hate what I see when I look in the mirror. First of all, nobody except bikini models loves what they see when they, like, if you're just, you're about to take a shower and you take a glance in the mirror. I mean, no one who is a day older than 22, who has a BMI over 19, who is employed to do anything other than model string bikinis, has ever looked in the mirror and just saw the whole thing, unretouched, no Photoshop, no spray tan, and been like, I'm killing it. That's amazing. Amazing. No notes. I mean, this is perfection. So just know that just seeing imperfections is normal. Like anyone who's had, we stretch marks, fat rolls, things being lumpy in places that you really wish that wasn't so lumpy. That everyone has that. But so just understand, you're not doing anything wrong. Just, everyone has that. Just know your colors, know your kibby body type, dress accordingly, and you will be totally fine. You will you will feel really good about the way you look. So I just wanted to put a point on that and just make that point. Okay, Caitlin, do you mind shutting this door? Yep. We have other people near my studio now who might be making noise. Okay, next. I wonder if we will ever have a podcast episode where Caitlin doesn't have to run in front of the camera because of some chaos. Oh, that's right. Okay. Yeah. I know what my next topic is. Where are we on time? Okay. Yeah, I think I can bang this one out. All right. I am taking my oldest daughter to her college orientation this week. So you guys know my son went off to college, Texas A&M last year, and then my daughter goes off to college this year. So she is my second oldest. I am still working on being upset about this. I'm trying to be with you guys. I'm trying to do the teary post where they grew up so fast. Where has the time gone? Man, I made a blood oath when my children were little that I would never say, where has the time gone? When my oldest was 6, I was like, I feel like I have been a parent for 10,000 years. Yeah. I said, future Jen, promise me that you will never say, where has the time gone? I know exactly where it's gone. Every day feels like an eternity. The days are long, but the years are short. The days are long and the years were long. Yep. Everything was long. Man. So no, I do not wonder where the time went. If I say like, where did the time go? It's more like it took forever to get to this point, And yeah, I don't know. Maybe it is because my kids are going to college a few hours away. If they were going to college out of state, maybe I'd be a puddle. Maybe I'd be a mess. But I don't know. I'm still not feeling sad about it. I just see it well, here's the other thing. So I was on Andrew Stanley's shows at Cap City Comedy Club in Austin this past weekend. And Caitlin, is he not the most hysterical person? I mean, yeah. I kid you not, dead serious. My abs were actually in pain from laughing. He did a 60-minute set, and I was laughing a couple times, almost to the point of tears. Mm-hmm. I mean, just constantly laughing, and totally clean. I mean, like, he could have a dry bar special, totally clean. So I cannot emphasize enough. Follow Andrew Stanley. If he is ever coming to your city, you will not regret seeing him. I think he's maybe the funniest comic working today. Okay, so anyway, that's my little plug for Andrew. So I opened for him, and I realized these comedy clubs tend to be 18 and up, and this Cap City is 18 and up, and 2 of my kids could come out. And I've always said my career is an us thing. It's not a me thing. I've brought my kids into every step of the way there, and they know what Joe's up to. Like we talk about what he does and all of that, just everything we do. And with Joe's sailing, which is he'd love for that to be his real career. Our kids are always a part of it. It's always a we thing, not a me thing. And so to me, when I think of my kids getting to be that age where they're adults, legally they are adults now. They are starting to go out on their own. To me, it's just a new world of possibilities for relationships with my kids, because when they were little, I could only bring them out to theater shows, and my theater shows tend to be when I'm touring, and it didn't always make sense to fly kids out with me when I'm in a theater, because theater shows are all ages. But I do a lot of comedy clubs, and especially in Austin. Usually if I'm performing in Austin, well, Actually, I do plenty of bar show. No, yeah, bars are 21 and up. Every now and then I'll do an all ages brewery or like a bookstore. I'll take stage time wherever I can get it. So I've done comedy in some random places, but suffice it to say, most of when I do comedy locally, it is usually at an 18 and up establishment. And so that's what my mind goes to. When I think of my kids being adults, I think I can share with them in different ways. Because in the past, it would be like, mommy's going out to do comedy. No, I don't refer to myself as mommy with my 18-year-olds. Like we're a little different over here. Like I'm going out to do comedy and I'll tell you about it. And when I got home, I'd always tell them about the other performers and how it went. And now it was like, they've heard all about Andrew Stanley and what a big fan I am of his. And they were actually able to be there and bring their friends. And I was chatting with their friends about what their friends thought. And then now that they are entering adulthood, they are having their own experiences as adults that I can then talk to them about, just adult stuff like applying for jobs and how do you make a LinkedIn profile. And, you don't talk to 5-year-olds about that. And that's just what my mind goes to. When I do think I have a natural tendency that you guys should adopt to, when one era is ending, all I can think about is what I look forward to about the new era. Because an era never closes without a new era beginning. And my mind always goes to that. What's cool about the next era. And there are so many cool things about having adult children. Honestly, I think my whole parenting journey was just biding time until my kids were older. My kids were adorable. Like when they were babies and toddlers, I mean, of course, like I snuggled with them all the time. I thought they were so cute. They were my whole world, loved them to pieces, but I was so bad at it. I mean, so bad at it. And it was just a constant source of stress of this ADHD brain trying to like do everything for little kids. I was not good at it. So anyway, I think I have just my whole life, I have been waiting to have adult kids or at least like teen kids. And so yeah, just giving you guys an update, still not crying about dropping a second kid in 2 years off at college. So we'll who knows, maybe I'll get there in a few weeks and I'll be very sad. But I just, when they came to my comedy show, I just thought that's, I don't know, it was just a cool moment. And I love it that I've built a career in comedy, doing comedy that's not filthy, that I don't feel weird doing comedy in front of my children. I've worked hard on it, so I know it's good. I know they won't feel embarrassed by me. Like I've put in the hard work so that I know that the product that I am producing is very good. I know it's very good because I go up at shows that are grungy bars where every single person in the audience has face tattoos and smells of marijuana, and I still relate to them and have them rolling. So like and that's hard. It took me a long time to get there. It's not something that was easy for me, but that's just a little hit the hot fire side point sound effect. That is our special sound effect for when I just make an incredible point. That's just an absolute tangent. That one of the great things about just doing the really hard, ego-destroying work to get honestly good at what you do, which usually means getting feedback that makes you cry. Like if you've never cried over feedback in whatever art form you do, you're probably not receiving the kind of feedback that you need to. But when you do that, then it's like, yeah, let my kids read my novel, let my kids see my cup. That's fine. I don't feel embarrassed. I don't worry that I will embarrass them because I've tested this and I think it's good. So I was glad they could come to the show. I'm glad they're adults. It's all fun. Still not crying. I'll keep you posted. All right. So, one last thing before we get to this Be Delusional main topic. Amazon is now selling houses.
What?
Yes. You can buy a house. It's $20,000. You can buy a tiny house, a cabin style tiny house on Amazon.
Weird.
This is bad news for those of us who tend to drunk shop on Amazon.
I'm gonna show up next week at the mini house in your backyard.
Well, right. Yeah, exactly. Because like I've had moments where I walk on the front porch and I'm like, what is this? I'm like, it's a book light and a blender and a neck massager all in one. I'll think like, is this like a reverse porch pirating thing? Like when someone's putting crap on my doorstep? Can you imagine? I mean, one day and then I'm like, oh, that's right. Oh yeah, I got that. Oh, that's right. After the girls' night with the margaritas, like, right. Oh yeah. Okay. I know what that is. I mean, one day I'm going to open my door hungover and there's going to be an Amazon 18-wheeler backing up to my house, like beep, beep, beep. I'll be like, Joe, do not look at the credit card. I can explain. I think they have free returns. Okay. I just have to drop this off at a UPS ship station. I'll fix this. Don't worry. And I pulled it up. You can just add. Let's do this right now. Let's do this. I think you can just add to cart. I think you really can. Let me see. I actually didn't try this. Okay. Let's see. Well, that was a mistake pulling up email because now I'm annoyed with my email inbox. Okay. So let's go to sent. I just sent this to Joe. Okay. Well, no, okay. I forgot how many emails I sent. Oh, there we go. Okay. Here we go. Okay. I have it up. It is Amazon. Oh, and they have customers also bought. So if this house is not for you, customers also bought. So it's $22,900 something dollars. And look, you guys, I hope you can see this on YouTube. They actually have the buy now shortcut. Oh. Let me see if I can get this meter out. They have the buy now. Okay, Okay.
Let's put this in the show notes.
Do I dare click on buy now? I'm just because you don't. I mean, it asks you for confirmation. I just want to know.
I've never clicked buy now because I'm too afraid.
It doesn't, but it's not buy like now.
I would
22,000.
There has to be some sort of.
I mean, we probably have a high credit limit. We put a lot of stuff on our credit card and then just pay it off. Usually. I mean, what worries me is we might have the credit. Okay, I'm sure they do free returns if I accidentally buy a house.
Cancel it, maybe.
Buy now. Okay, I'm gonna do it. Click. Okay. What's happening? Okay, wait. It's not gonna. It is. You got no. Listen. Okay, I'm actually going to walk up to this camera so you have to see this. Look. Oh wait. Okay, I'm about to show my home address.
I'm about to say there's no personal details, right? Can you need a sticky note?
Hang on. Okay, I will cover up my home address. I'm walking up to the camera so you guys can see this. Look at this. Okay, focus, camera, focus. Oh, it's still washed out. Caitlin, why is it still washed out? Okay, describe to them what I'm doing since they can't see it.
Well, she's trying to hold it up to the camera, but the camera won't focus. So
okay, the camera. No, it'll focus. It wouldn't meter on it. It was washed out.
That
it is. I am actually at just the regular checkout screen. It can be here by 1 week from this recording.
1 week.
I can get text update. You guys, I am one click away. It says I could literally do this. Place your order. Like this is the regular, like if I bought a new toothbrush, exact same screen. There is one button here that says place your order. They
shocking.
shouldn't do that.
Nope.
Okay. Now, if you'll just give me a moment,
I gotta go cancel this.
Caitlin, because my kids sometimes order things on Amazon, and to do me a favor, they'll just order whatever is in the cart. Caitlin, tell us, what color season do you think you are while I get this out of my Amazon cart?
Color season. Oh heavens, I don't even know.
Do you think? I think you're like a. Well, okay.
Autumn,
you know what? No, I'm gonna
colors,
shut up. I'm gonna because I got it. Okay. Save for later. I can put it in the save for later.
Don't do that either.
Okay.
You'll go back and
buy it.
I am
so worried that I'm going to hit. Okay, hang on, you guys. I didn't. What I just do? Okay, your shopping cart is empty. I cannot believe I should put. I should do an Amazon affiliate link where, like, because like if somebody buys it, I get
commission.
Yeah, I get. I don't know what the commission is, but like that would be incredible. Like, link in the show notes, guys, if you want to buy a house. How is it delivered?
I don't know.
But they just show you this regular shipping that's like
No big deal.
It'll be here Thursday. And they don't. And it's like you place your order. Like that's it.
That's crazy.
Okay, I'm telling you, they need to. There, you know how if people get DWIs, there's like a breathalyzer that you have to blow into before you can start your car. I need that on the Amazon app. I need a breathalyzer on the Amazon
How many drinks have you had?
App.
That's a no, you're locked
Because
out.
otherwise, I'm going to buy one of those houses. I'm going to buy a $22,000 house. I'll be like, this is for me. This is like what I need. Or like, you know, if my husband and I get in an argument, I'll be like, this is your new house. It'll be delivered Thursday. Oh, wait, it'll be delivered tomorrow because I got Prime shipping. They can't do that. That is just dangerous. Wow, where were we? I just didn't expect that to work like that. I thought that it would be like, well, this is a different checkout process, you know? Okay, wow, where were we? That really blew my mind. Okay, let's talk about, so this whole be delusional thing, it kind of relates to the launch of my comedy special. And this, I worked so hard on this. I worked so hard on the launch of, on just creating this comedy special. I got feedback that made me cry more times than I can even count. I bombed at bar shows. I mean, I had other comedians talk smack about me because I bombed. I mean, I just went through the ringer, and I just relentlessly pushed forward until I started finding the right groove. It's like music, you know, you find the right beat, you find the right rhythm, you find the right subjects, very similar to music. And so now that this has been brought to fruition, I just want to encourage any of you who might have creative projects of your own. I just want to encourage you, when you are starting any creative project, it is so important to lie to yourself about how long it's going to take and how hard it's going to be. The reality is it's going to be 1,000 times harder than you ever dreamed it could be. It's going to ruin your life in ways that you couldn't even imagine. It's going to destroy your ego. But that delusion that maybe you can write that 500-page Game of Thrones style epic novel by Friday is what will keep you going. That delusion of, you know what, this doesn't need to take that long. I'm just going to, I bet I could. Maybe Stephanie Meyer or whatever her name is, she wrote Twilight in a week. That I can do it too. And then, you know, when it takes like 6 years of absolute torture to get it done, it makes it easier when every step of the way you're like, I bet I'm going to be done by Friday. Like, yeah, okay, yes. So far, I only have one sentence on one page and it's bad. But you know what? Any minute now, I bet it's going to come together and I will have all 500 pages written of the great American novel by Friday. I actually think that kind of delusion can be good for most personality types. I think for people who have a difficult time with like not perfectly hitting certain goals, they might struggle with that because they would feel like a failure if they don't have it written by Friday. But most of us, just having that stupid optimism can actually be really helpful. And before so this is the main topic, and before I fully launch into it, I want to remind you, probably the most epic Village Hustle Patreon episode ever is up this week. Is that 49, episode 49? Oh, I think it is. It's something like that. Whatever. It just came out. It was a little late, but it's epic because it is the full behind the scenes of the launch of my comedy special, what went wrong and all that sort of thing. Okay, so and that link is in the show notes. Get on the Village Hustle Patreon, and then you also get access to that lower level, the after party. I really recommend it. Link in the show notes. That is really a lot of fun, that particular Patreon episode. And we have another good one, by the way, the next week. I've already recorded it. I found the hottest filter on TikTok right now is for this TikTok star. She's very pretty. So there's a filter where it doesn't change the shape of your face, but it makes your makeup look like hers. And I recreated that makeup while giving you guys some good advice. So get on the Village Hustle Patreon. Okay. I found that I follow this TikToker named Wemi. I think, yeah, Wemi. Oh, I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. I looked up the pronunciation of her name and everything, and I wrote it phonetically, but now I don't understand my own phonetic code. So it's hard to be me. But I think it's Wemi. You can find her on TikTok, Wemi, Wemi, and then Opakunle. So she had some really interesting things to say about the story of Richard Branson, the founder of Virgin Airlines, and the concept of delusion. So let's listen to it. It's about a minute long, so she'll be talking for a minute, but let's listen to what she had to say about it.
It takes delusion to bring your dreams to life. You have to be delusional enough to think that something will work, to think that the impossible will work in order for it to work. You have to see yourself as what you want before other people can see you as that. Also, don't get discouraged if you only get some of what you need. A year is not that big of a deal, not that much in the grand scheme of things when you're talking about starting a business, but a year is exactly what he needed for that business. Richard Branson once shared that when he was branding Virgin Atlantic, that someone once told him that nobody, absolutely nobody, would ever fly on an airline named Virgin. Lesson number 5, no one will
Okay,
believe
pause
in
it there.
you
That's actually
more
the
than
second
you.
one I
With
meant to
one
share.
plane.
So you guys, we're early on the key insights. Okay, now Caitlin, share the other one. This is actually the intro where she talks about, she sets up the Richard Branson story, but those were great insights as well.
Over 39 years ago, a canceled flight changed Richard Branson's life. If you are not familiar with who Richard Branson is, he is an incredibly successful businessman and entrepreneur who started Virgin Atlantic and Virgin Records a long time ago. If the first thing in your mind as you're listening to this is that he was privileged in some way, please keep in mind that we all have our struggles and we are all privileged in some way. If you're sitting here on your phone, perfectly fine, you're more privileged than someone who's in the hospital waiting for something to change or save their lives. Richard Branson is someone with dyslexia who dropped out of school at 16. He was told by his headmaster at the time that he would either end up in jail or become a millionaire. Before success came, there were many failures, including an attempt to sell Christmas trees and, at another point, a magazine. We can all learn something from each other's history, no matter how different we are or how different our backgrounds are. Anyway, in the early 80s, Richard Branson was on his way to see his girlfriend at the time when his flight to the British Virgin Islands was canceled. Since he hadn't seen his lady friend in 3 weeks, he was livid. He walked to the back of the airport, gave them his card to charter a plane, and prayed really hard that it would not bounce. He then borrowed a blackboard and wrote as a joke, Virgin Airlines, one way, $39 to the Virgin Islands. He walked up and down that canceled flight and filled up the plane that he chartered with the rest of the passengers that were also left stranded. That was essentially Virgin Atlantic's first flight. When they arrived in the British Virgin Islands, someone said to him, "Sharpen your service a bit and you could be in the airline business." He took that sign and he took inspired action. Lesson number 1, every challenge.
So that, okay, you can stop it, Caitlin. So that whole TikTok is so good. It's actually much longer than what I played. She's so good. I'm so cool. I don't even know how I ended up following her, but I like her a lot. And so I love that story because it shows how Richard Branson had that delusion that this would work to charter a plane to get all these other passengers who'd been on the canceled flight to be able to get out there. And let's look at the different levels of delusion there. So one of the things that a lot of us might do is think that the other passengers might be annoyed by his offer. This is a big one for a lot of us. Our biggest areas of delusion are about what people think of us. We think that people think poorly of us. We think that they hold us in low esteem, even when it's kind of based on nothing. We do so much projecting. And when you look at the stories of people who have made a big impact, a lot of them, it's not that they were certain that everyone would love them. It's more like they just didn't let their ego be a factor. I have a feeling if you could talk to young Richard Branson back then at that time, and you said, what, did you just think everyone would love you and want to get on this plane? I think he would say, I didn't care if they loved me or not. Like maybe they would think I'm a psycho, whatever, but I was just trying to achieve this thing that I felt moved to do. And you see this even with people who have made a big impact for God, saintly people, whatever. They just, their ego is just kind of not a factor. They think, okay, this feels right for me to do, for me to put this thing out there. And so I don't care what people think about me. And if your brain just can't stop pinging that question of, but what are people going to think? What are people going to think? You force it to think something positive. I was in the belly of the beast with this the past few weeks because in order to do my epic mailing, and Caitlin, was that not epic? Watch the Village Hustle Patreon that just came out. It was just one kick in the pants after the other. It was like, oh, this is going to be twice as more expensive as we thought. Oh, this and that. I mean, we worked 12 hours a day, multiple days. I mean, I work like 16 hours a day for multiple days. Caitlin was working 12 hours a day. I mean, it was insanity. And in order to make it all come together, I had to DM a ton of people and ask them for their addresses because snail mail was my strategy. I talked about it on the Village Hustle Patreon. That was my strategy. It's always my strategy. Snail mail makes you stand out. Because I found, okay, people don't know what snail mail is. Okay, that means like regular letters mail, like paper mail. We'll get to that in a minute. So that was my strategy. Send things out by regular mail. But then that means I need to ask a lot of people that I do not know very well, many of whom are more well known than I am. Some of them are straight up famous. And I have to get in touch with them and ask them for their addresses, for a mailing address. That is, boy, is that a fertile ground for thinking that people are thinking bad things about you. That can seem like a little bit of a personal question, especially to the people who had that kind of mid-level fame where I wasn't sure if they had a business mailing address. So essentially, I'm kind of asking for their home address, which they may or may not feel comfortable sharing with a rando from the internet. I also found out if you're going to ask people you don't know very well for their addresses, there is kind of a time frame during the day that you want to do that. Because I'm such a night owl and I forget that not everyone is, I DM'd a couple of guys. I DM'd them at 3:00 in the morning to say, hey, where do you live? I realized, that's more of a 2 p.m. DM to send. And so I had to really schedule when I sent those DMs. This is an aside, but nobody knows what the term snail mail means. Fully half of the people replied with their email addresses. No, it's not an aside. Hit the special sound effect from when I thought something was an aside, but it is actually germane to the point. When people replied with their email addresses, the true crime podcast that runs endlessly in my brain was like, they think it's very rude that you asked for their mailing address. And that is their delicate way of saying, hey, psychopath, I would never give you that. And one of them is a comedian who is, there are certain comedians who they're famous in the comedy industry. You probably have not heard their name just yet, but you will. They're absolutely the next big thing. And so they are highly respected. So they're not Jim Gaffigan level, but they will be. And so it's like there's a little bit of a status situation there. So, and one of those people who I really admire, and we've had a lot of friendly conversations, replied with just their email address. And so I immediately want to crawl into a hole. I've severed this relationship. This person will never invite me to be any, part of anything they do. But then I remembered this lesson. I thought, do I know that? Do I know for sure? Do I know that for sure? Did this person actually say, hey, I can't believe you'd ask for my home address? Or is this my friend's husband walking across the room situation where I am completely spinning an entire narrative based on literally nothing? This person replied actually only with their email address. So I was like, oh, they hate me. Like the restraining order is in the works. They're probably calling my hematologist's office to be like, you were so right. She is a psycho. The narrative was going on and on. But guys, this really did kind of change my career. That I stopped that and I said, I'm going to choose to be delusional the other way. I have been being delusional with everyone hates me. They think I'm a psycho, and I'm going to be delusional the other way. And so it made me a little nervous to follow up with this comedian who might, again, have been delicately trying to tell me that they absolutely did not want to share a street address with me. So I took a big gulp. I took a deep breath and I followed up and I said, hey, totally cool if you don't want to share this, but I meant like mailing because I was going to send you something. They responded so enthusiastically. They were like, I would love to get mail. I haven't gotten regular mail other than bills in forever. That sounds like so much fun. And in fact, just a few hours before we're recording this, they went on their Instagram stories and were like, Jen is the best. I got this thing in the mail. I love it. This is so cool. Please sit with that story for a minute. This person has a very big platform. They are followed by a lot of tastemakers, like, bookers for late night shows, the people who do Netflix specials, people who are pretty critical to my career. Anyone who's anyone follows this person. And I almost missed out on that great shout out from them. They were raving about like, Jen is so funny. You've got to check out her stuff. She's the next big thing, blah, blah, blah. Just saying the absolute nicest things. And I almost missed out on that because I was being delusional the wrong way. And when I decided that if I am going to make up fanfic in my head, it's going to be positive fanfic, it changed everything. And I systematically went back to every person who sent me an email address. And I made a joke. I said, hey, I just found out the hard way that nobody knows the term snail mail. I was talking about regular mail. And amazingly, a couple people had further questions. They were like, you mean like street address? I'm like, wow,
Yes.
I never thought that this would be like this. This is incredible. So every single person, 100% of the people who replied with email addresses expressed joy and glee at the fact that I was going to send them a physical letter in the mail. They were delighted to send me their addresses, and each one of them sent me their home address with no qualifications. And it's so great because now I can stalk them. Also, the big comedian, I can show up at their house and be like, listen, we're meant to be friends, and you don't know it. I don't mean this in a weird way. I'm just trying to be accurate. We were meant to be really good friends, and I flew across 5 states to be here and tell you that in person. So that is an example. I cannot tell you how filled with gratitude I am that I decided to be delusional in a positive way. I decided to make the podcast of my life a fun podcast instead of a true crime podcast. With the way some other things went, we may still end up in true crime territory. Yeah, but it won't be people thinking bad things about me. It'll be me getting vengeance on other people in a happy way with everything going on in the news. I just want to make clear.
Oh my gosh.
I mean vengeance. We're not going into that. That's not my wheelhouse. We're not going into that. I just want to say that I meant vengeance with words. Okay, the pen is mightier than the whatever. All right, so so that is an example, critical example of how I totally misread that situation. Okay, so here's another one. So I messaged someone in comedy. I had similar conversations with a couple of people, but in this case, I messaged someone who I forget what they replied. But when I asked for their address, they expressed, I forget how it was they phrased it, but they expressed that something about the request like irritated them, or they're like, "Oh, wow, are you serious?" And so again, I was tempted to go into a cave. And this is the most important lesson sound effect. This is the most important lesson of this entire point, that when you are doing your negative storytelling in your mind, particularly about what people think about you, you are probably hurting people and not realizing it. I'm going to say that again, because it's so important. When you tell yourself negative stories all the time about the future, the bad things that are going to happen to you and your family and whatever in the future, but especially about what people think about you, whether it's your spouse, your kids, whatever, business contacts, whatever, you are probably harming other people more than you realize by letting your ego just devour your sense of love and openness. So here's what happened. So this person sent me a kind of like, wow, are you serious? Like, okay. And not okay, like I'm going to give you my address, but like in so many words, they said, I didn't know that this is how it is or something. And immediately I wanted to just renounce my entire public presence. Like, this is, I'm going into hiding now. I am changing my name. We will go into the witness protection program. I will shut down my podcast and all the social media. And this, because I've hurt someone, I've offended someone. And so my temptation, because of the negative story, was to just be like, oh, well, okay, sorry, it is. Sorry, I just wanted to say that, but sorry. And just leave it at that. But again, I decided to tell myself a positive delusional story that maybe there is something here that I just don't know about. Maybe there's a factor here that I'm totally missing, which is so often the case. So I replied with a fun, lighthearted, I made some joke about like, it is true that I'm such a big fan of yours. I do want to stalk you, but I'm also really busy right now. So, blah, blah, blah. Okay. So it turns out because I replied in a lighthearted, fun way, that continued the conversation. So here is what this guy said. And another comedian said the same thing to me later. So it turns out, boy, was I reading these situations wrong. So the way I had phrased my message to him was I said, do you have a mailing address or like, do you have a street address that you don't mind sharing? In my mind, the emphasis of the question was on the that you don't mind sharing part. So my insecurities were all placed on that second half of the question, that you don't mind sharing, because I was feeling insecure, like people might think I'm being weird. But he read, I didn't realize there were two questions in one here. He read, do you have a street address? He explains to me he thought that I was implying that he might be homeless. And if you understand the world of comedy, some of these people are not in strong financial situations. Comedy is an industry where very few people are in the middle. You tend to be rich or you tend to be living out of your car. Mm-hmm. So I kind of forgot that in this industry, I mean, there are some brilliantly talented comedians in Austin who are very successful in terms of being highly regarded, who are living in their cars or couch surfing. And so his insecurities were all placed squarely on the first part of the sentence. Do you have a mailing address? Because I'm more established in life. I have a family. I see it now. Like my jewelry from Shein can look pretty convincing. I think some people might think I'm this like wealthy, privileged woman or whatever. Like, okay, caveat, I'm not saying I'm not privileged. Okay, whatever. The point is, I get it. My jewelry from Shein can be very compelling. Like I'm wearing what looks like diamond earrings right now, $8 on Amazon. But I do kind of have that aura that you might think it's not Amazon jewelry. I understand this about myself. So these guys who some of them, I don't know, maybe they were couch surfing a few years ago or something because they believe in their dreams. And I actually think that's awesome. If, all in, I love it. Put all of your eggs in that blue flame basket. But I can see how they might see me. This guy is like 20 years younger than I am. He's just getting started. And so I can see how that could trigger his insecurities to think, wow, this like suburban mom who just has, she's got all the whatever that she needs. Like she thinks I'm homeless. She's asking me if I actually have a place that I am living to mail stuff to. And then my insecurities are over there. Like, this guy's such a talented comedian. Everyone respects him so much. He probably doesn't think I'm at his level. He probably thinks I'm just some mom who doesn't know what I'm doing. And so he probably doesn't want to give me his address. So I'd better say, if you don't mind sharing. And this explosion of insecurities, if I had just retreated and not followed up in good humor, and not, allowed that conversation to continue in a loving and friendly way, we would have left it there. And this guy, I really would have hurt his feelings. And it turns out later, I ran into him at a show recently, and it was like the day after we had that exchange, and we were laughing about it. But it turns out he said he actually really respects me. He thinks I'm great. He thinks it's really cool, the things that I've accomplished and blah, blah, blah. And so I just, because I was thinking he thought only negative things about me, I didn't realize that I was actually in a position that I could kind of hurt his feelings because he had respect for me. And see, that's the thing. When you assume that people are thinking all these bad things about you and they think you're whatever, they think you're, we can be insecure about our looks. Like they think I'm fat, or they think I'm not stylish, or they think I'm just some mom like who's never done anything. When you have all that in your head, you're actually taking a really big risk with other people's feelings there. I'm going to say that one again too. You're taking a really big risk with other people's feelings, because if you're wrong, if your gamble is wrong there, and they actually do respect you and even look up to you, if you are behaving with them in a way that is standoffish or kind of skittish or whatever out of your insecurities, they are going to interpret that as you look down on them. You think they are less than, and you are going to end up hurting feelings. Just like little did I know, I had half the Austin comedy scene thinking that I thought they were homeless. And another additional half, I'm educating them on what snail mail is. This was kind of a disaster. It was a little bit of a disaster. So that is, that hit it home to me so hard, the importance of being delusional when you're being delusional, and you are all the time. You're constantly being delusional. Anytime you're telling yourself a story, you're making meaning out of something where you do not have actual facts, like Sherlock Holmes facts. It hit home to me the importance of being delusional in a positive way, because of how much other people's feelings are at stake. When you hear influencers talking about this, a lot of times they talk about it in the sense of like, you should be delusional for you because you can achieve your dreams and, your dreams, blah, 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 blah. And that's great. I think you should be delusional for that reason too. Absolutely. You should be shining your light to the world. Use your blue flame. It's a way to love people. It's a way that God can work through you. All of that. But I would actually say that is secondary to just taking care of the people around you. I would say that's the big reason to be delusional in a positive way and assume that everyone likes and respects you, because then you will treat everyone with love and kindness. You won't kind of run away in hostility and assume they don't like you. If you're assuming that they like you, even if they're giving you an attitude, even if it's like the teller at the bank is giving you an attitude about something, if you assume that, she probably thinks I'm fine, she's probably just having a bad day, isn't that going to make it a little easier to be Christ-like? Isn't that going to make it a little easier to just be nice, even though you are interpreting it like she does not respect you? It allows you to be a more loving person and shine the light of God's love to everyone you encounter when you make up positive delusional stories about your life and about everyone around you. And I would add, this is kind of a second podcast episode, so we have more weaving in the future. But let me just add a little point on that. Even when you're being delusional about your dreams or your careers or your career, what you hope to accomplish, or the way things turn out with your kids, if you're having a tough situation with your kids, still being delusional in a positive way is a service to other people. Because let's say you're having a financial crisis right now and it's really weighing you down, and it's causing problems with your family, and everything feels very heavy and dark. What favors is it doing for you to write your dark fatalistic fanfic about how this is only going to get worse, and our debt is just going to keep getting worse, and we're not going to figure this out, and our house will be foreclosed on, and the kids will hate us, and blah, blah, blah. Tell me what favors that is doing anyone. And Admit that it's delusion. You do not have a crystal ball. You do not have psychic powers. You don't know what's going to happen here. You're not factoring in how God might be able to swoop in and do something wild and change this whole situation. And by the way, if God did want to send you some crazy insight or something, are you really going to be open to hear it if you're in that dark, everything is terrible and nothing's going to work out here space? When you get in that space, you're just closing everything. You're closing out God, like you're just shutting everyone out. And it's a very dark place to be, and you drag everyone down with you. Whereas if you decide to be delusional, again, we don't have a crystal ball, we don't know, but I am going to choose to see positive things in my fake crystal ball that I pull out every night at 1 a.m. when I can't sleep. I'm going to choose to be delusional in a positive way. Well, then think about how much lighter you will interact with your family. If you're like, I don't see how, but I bet we're going to figure this out. I just bet that a year from now, we'll see how God brought good out of this, and we'll be in a great situation. And maybe it's not true, but maybe it's also not true that the bad thing is going to play out. And think about how much more of a light you are to the people around you if you think, maybe I will write that novel in time. Maybe I actually will finish the novel. I did that with my Something Other Than God book. I was like, I truly believe that I will finish this by the end of the month. And it was 5 years of misery. 5 years. So much worse than anything I could have ever dreamed for how hard writing that book would be. But that delusion kept me a fairly usually pleasant person to be around, because I would just never admit what the real situation was. And again, I was wrong in that delusion, but there was no harm to it. And it made me a much more pleasant person to be around that I had that delusion. I would have never written that book. A lot of you guys like that book. It has 2,000 positive reviews on Amazon. Like, a lot of people like it. And it wouldn't have, people wouldn't have that story. It wouldn't have blessed the people that it blessed if I had been delusional the wrong way. If I had been like, I bet this is going to take 5 years and I'm going to have to rewrite this 3 times from a blank page, which is what actually happened. Well, I would have never done it. I would have never gotten myself into that mess. So being delusional, whether it's what people think about you or whether it's your goals or career, it always blesses other people. Even if you don't want to do it for yourself, be delusional for other people. Because that's how, and again, you're more open to God's inspiration and all of that when you're in that more positive, delusional state. The girlies on TikTok, they call it Delulu. That's a term, Delulu, Delulu. And I love it. Maybe that'll be some merch we make. Delulu. I'm really getting into being Delulu. It saved my launch. Can you imagine if with as stressful as that launch was, Caitlin, if I had added the stress of just being completely negative and thinking about every possible negative outcome, like, we both would have died. Oh, yeah. We wouldn't have survived that. It was too much stress. So be Delulu. Maybe we'll make Delulu merch. Go Delulu watch my comedy special, Maternal Instinct. It is out on YouTube right now. Just search YouTube for Maternal Instinct Comedy. And don't forget, I am coming to Birmingham, Huntsville, and Nashville. Those links are also in the show notes. And we will be back with you next week with another fine episode. Just weaving the insights, from one show to another. This is why it's good. Just binge the episodes. If you're just discovering this podcast, binge them all, listen to them all. And I will be back with you next week here on the Jen Fulwiler Show.